You watch a video about the power of vibration, and for a moment everything makes sense. But then reality strikes. A relationship crumbles. A loved one departs. Your bank account bleeds dry before the month is half over. And suddenly the question becomes unbearably real. How do you hold your frequency when the world is collapsing around you? This is not a question for the naive. This is the question of someone who understands that vibration is not a game, but the very architecture of existence. And today, you will receive the answer, stripped of all romantic delusion. Because if you have arrived at this transmission, it is not by accident. There is a fragment of understanding waiting here for you, the final piece that will make everything click into place. Listen carefully. There are two kingdoms in perpetual coexistence, the external world and your internal world. They are not the same territory. Something happens in the external realm, that is one reality. But the permission you grant that event to invade and ransack your internal kingdom, that is an entirely separate choice. Your phone is stolen. Your account is drained. The external chaos is undeniable. But allowing that chaos to become your internal state, that is not inevitability. That is surrender. Consider the stolen phone, the emptied account. What can be done in the external world? You file the report. You search for cameras. You speak with the bank. You take every practical action available to you. And if those actions fail, if the problem cannot be solved, then you face the only truth that matters. What has no remedy is already remedied. When something cannot be fixed or changed, the only sovereign response is acceptance and adaptation. You move forward. You work. You recover. And if you must ask for help, you ask. But here is the principle you must engrave into your consciousness. You do this with lightness. Lightness is the master virtue, the ability to take life less seriously, to laugh at yourself and at what befalls you. External events will never stop occurring. Your task is not to prevent the storm. Your task is to develop such profound neutrality that the storm can no longer penetrate your inner sanctum. And the tool for cultivating this neutrality? That is what you are about to discover. Everything in your life is shaped by 4 pillars. Together, they form what I call your vibrational architecture. First, your beliefs, the unquestioned convictions that form your mental framework. Second, your emotions, the deep currents of feeling that move through you in response to yourself, to others, to existence itself. Third, your communication, the connections you forge, internally with yourself, externally with others, and transcendently with the intelligence that governs all things. And fourth, your actions, the 3 previous pillars crystallized into concrete behavior in the physical world. These 4 pillars generate your personal field, and this field operates like a magnet, attracting or repelling situations, opportunities, people. If your field vibrates at a high frequency, you draw in extraordinary opportunities and elevated circumstances. If it contracts into low frequency, into suffering and fear, you magnetize more of precisely what you do not want. This is not philosophy. This is mechanics. You can argue with this truth, you can search for exceptions, but if you pause and reflect with maturity, you will collide with what you already know deep within. This is how reality functions. Now observe something crucial. All 4 pillars exist entirely within your internal kingdom. They can be worked upon, refined, mastered. They do not depend on external permission. And this means you possess the power to create an impenetrable barrier between the chaos of the external world and the sovereignty of your internal state. The method is precise. You will use the 3rd pillar, communication, to modulate the 2nd pillar, emotion. Your communication operates in 3 domains: the internal, how you speak to yourself, the voice that narrates your experience; the external, how you interact with other human beings through language and presence; and the transcendent, how you commune with the divine, with non-physical intelligence, with the source of all things. Here is your first protocol. Place a filter between external communication and your internal world. When any event occurs, regardless of its apparent magnitude, you will say to yourself, "This is merely an event. It is a fact. It is information arriving from the external realm, nothing more. It carries no inherent charge, positive or negative." My internal kingdom is fortified, and I do not grant this information permission to invade me and create an emotional tsunami. This declaration is not symbolic. It is a command you issue to your own consciousness. It functions as an actual barrier, a firewall between external chaos and internal stability. You observe, but you do not absorb. The second protocol, fortify your internal communication. And here I must ask you directly, does this communication even exist within you in a deliberate, conscious form? Do you listen to your body, to your mind, to your intuition? Have you established clear boundaries within yourself? Most people possess no conscious internal dialogue whatsoever. They are missiles hurtling through space at thousands of kilometers per hour with no trajectory, unaware that collision is imminent at any moment. You must develop this inner communion. You must learn to speak to yourself harmoniously, positively. This is perhaps the most potent tool within your entire vibrational architecture, and it is the most ignored. The conversation you maintain with yourself must be designed to reach the second pillar, emotion. You must learn to master your emotions. And when I say master, I do not mean suppress. I mean develop emotional intelligence. I mean stop being dominated by your emotional weather patterns. Consider the 11th card of the tarot, the Strength card. It reveals a woman taming a lion not through force, but through a graceful, almost sensual dance. She does not suffer. She does not struggle. She enchants the beast. The lion represents your deepest emotions, your instincts, your primal nature. All of this must be tamed over time, not through violence, but through conscious engagement. It is easy to adopt the victim posture and say, "You do not live what I live. My problems are insurmountable." Are you truly going to surrender that much power to an external event? For your entire existence? You are far greater than any circumstance. Take yourself less seriously. Take life less seriously. How many years do you still have ahead of you? Life is a breath. Do not waste it in perpetual struggle. Struggle does not even exist. It is a hologram designed to keep you dreaming, paralyzed. Life begins the moment we stop allowing the external world to dictate our internal state. This is your responsibility to learn and to practice until you achieve mastery. When you do, you become lighter. You enjoy existence more. You become magnetic. Understand this clearly. Problems will never cease. They will always present themselves. That is the nature of the game. And as you grow, the problems grow with you. If you allow problems to dominate you, you freeze. You cannot advance. This is the classic trap. But when you begin to dissolve the materialist illusion and perceive that everything is vibration, you realize that every problem has a solution. If no solution exists in the external world, the solution exists in the internal world. It is easy to blame the person who crashed into your car, the politician, the economy, always someone else. What is difficult is assuming full responsibility for your internal kingdom and doing the work. When you recognize that every issue is a vibrational issue, a clear path opens before you. You begin to understand that we inhabit a multidimensional universe, and thousands of dimensions of reality are coexisting with this one we are experiencing right now. How is it possible that on the same planet, people live in such radically different internal conditions? How can someone who has everything be perpetually dissatisfied, while someone who has almost nothing radiates happiness? Money and prosperity are only one variable in the equation of life, and they are not even the most important. The most important will always be your internal state, your internal environment. Because there is no purpose in possessing hundreds of thousands in currency if you are miserable, without perspective, depressive, isolated. The only way to construct a full and realized life is by building an internal environment of love, lightness, prosperity, and vitality. And this is a choice you make every single day and every single moment. Now consider this carefully. What if I told you that there exists a state of consciousness where everything you desire to experience in this incarnation already exists, and all you must do is stop rowing away from it? Imagine a spiral of energy emanating from the center of your chest, a powerful, energetic field. Can you visualize it? Now I ask you, What are your deepest desires across all domains of life? Begin naming them one by one and place them inside this spiral. The career, the relationship, the home, the business, the health, the emotional mastery, the joy, the understanding of your greater purpose. What if I told you that within this spiral, everything you want already exists, already formed, already waiting to be accessed? And where is this spiral located? Right here, mere centimeters from you. When you are light, free, expansive, your vibrational field naturally expands, your consciousness expands, your perception expands, and you touch your spiral of desires. You gain access to it. And when you make contact with this spiral, inspirations begin arriving in your internal world. Opportunities you never imagined begin manifesting in the external world. But now imagine you are contracted. You are worried. You are telling yourself, this is too difficult. The world is in a terrible phase. The country is broken. Nothing works. What happens when you ruminate on this? Your field contracts. It narrows. And this contracted field ceases to touch the spiral of desires. It falls out of alignment. But this contracted field of worry, of suffering, will still create your reality. Because every vibrational field creates, primarily through the force of thought and the potency of feeling. You are thinking that the government is corrupt, that the war is endless, that your health problem has no solution, that you are perpetually in debt, that no decent person wants to be with you. You are generating an anti-spiral. Everything you fear, everything you do not want, and yet you cannot stop feeding it with your attention, your mind, your heart. What key must you turn? Expand your personal field to touch the spiral of realization. Do you see it now graphically? And how do you do this? By working your 4 pillars: beliefs, emotions, communication, and actions. By mastering your personal vibration, problems will never stop arriving. But when you dissolve the materialist lens and recognize that everything is vibration, you gain access to a profound truth. There is always a solution. If not in the external world, then in the internal one. And the internal solution is always more powerful. The knowledge without application is nothing but an echo. In the comments, declare the single principle from this transmission that you will consciously apply in the next 24 hours. Let that declaration be your anchor, your first act of sovereignty.